Is $3 a hypothetical possibility maybe for HBAR in 2025? Well, even though we can't tell the future, I do want to take a look at a hypothetical scenario, even though nothing I say is financial advice. And here's the thing. Why 2025 more specifically? It's because historically speaking, right? Typically, altcoins, they usually peak as a worst case scenario around a year and a half after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April last year, so a year and a half from then would actually mean around October this year. Is this a guarantee this time around? No. And some people may think it's impossible because they take a look at Bitcoin, at least at the time of this recording, not too long ago reaching a new all-time high, even though it's not too far off from its previous all-time high, but I'm just saying, still did that, right? Some people are saying, oh, Bitcoin's doing that, doing this. When is altcoins really going to peak? Well, take a look at it, right? Bitcoin dominance is very fantastic as of right now. If the Bitcoin dominance goes down, typically altcoins, man, that could very well be party time right there. But again, history isn't always necessarily always going to repeat itself. But I just kind of feel like, you know what, with all the factors, like seeing the Bitcoin dominance so high, feeling like, you know what, this isn't over yet when it comes to altcoins, not to mention historical data. I just kind of feel like, it doesn't feel like the altcoin season is over. And very well, if things continue to head in this way, right? And let's say a lot of the attention starts flowing into altcoins, and let's say it continues on for a number of months near the end of this year, it doesn't seem like a bad timeline for me, at least when it comes to a bunch of altcoins out there, even though it's going to vary on a case-by-case basis. But even besides all that, some people may think that $3 is this like random impossible dream. Well, maybe, but you know what? I just don't see why not, because going to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $127 billion. I don't think that's too bad, really, because we have to take a look at how in 2021, which I feel like the factors are a lot less bullish than back then when compared to right now, due to all the hype when it comes to the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, all this, right? Even besides all that, in that year, BNB exceeded over $100 billion in terms of market cap. And BNB is not the most revolutionary project of all time, in my opinion, even though I think it's very good. And if BNB did that before, years ago, right? What could it do this time around? Many people are saying 3, 4, maybe 500 billion in terms of market cap. We just don't know. Only time will tell. But I'm just saying, if let's say BNB did that this time around and was able to, achieve that years ago, why can't HBAR at least go to over $100 billion of market cap? That's the way I view it. There's no guarantees again, but I'm just saying. Now, people may think $3 is kind of bad because it's around a 14x from here. But really, when I first started acquiring HBAR, it wasn't around a 14x. Just check out my earlier videos when it comes to HBAR. But I'm just saying, even doing like a hypothetical 14x from on top of, right, what it already did, it doesn't seem too bad in my opinion. Now, again, people may think, oh, if it's not like a 1000x or whatever, here's the thing. Not every single project, in my opinion, is destined to do like a 1000x. And not to mention as well, I don't want to look for a 1000x for my entire portfolio because, first of all, that's just way too risky. That's kind of like nonsense, in my opinion. It's just something that I don't really want to do. So instead, in some cases, I want to look more for a quote-unquote safe play. Now, is HBAR safer than Bitcoin? Absolutely not. Because I feel like Bitcoin's going to be around 40 years from right now. A bunch of other projects out there, we just don't know if they're going to even be around for the next cycle. You know what I mean? I'm not saying HBAR's like that, but I'm just saying the most ultimately quote-unquote less risky play when it comes to the crypto space, I feel like is Bitcoin. Number 2 is, of course, something like Ethereum. But again, Bitcoin, I feel like, is going to be around for a very long time. And again, that's just the way I view it. So, of course, HBAR is not less risky than that. But in the grand scheme of things, is this more risky than a random microcap? No, I don't think so. So then this is something that I don't mind, again, around a 14x on top of what it already did historically speaking. But even besides that point, when I take a look at Hedera, what makes it so unique when compared to all these other projects, like when people love Avalanche, Algorand, whatnot, right? What makes Hedera so special is the fact that it actually doesn't utilize traditional blockchain technology, again, when it comes to Hedera Hashgraph. Instead, it uses something called a directed acyclic graph. And that stands for, a DAG for short, right? Like the acronym is DAG. And in the grand scheme of things, will this make blockchain technology obsolete? Nah, I don't think so, but the advantages are good enough, in my opinion, to justify me believing in a project like this because when compared to traditional blockchain technology, again, a DAG, it's typically a lot faster, it's usually a lot more scalable, improved data storage also usually consumes less energy. So this right here, I think is very amazing. And I think these are good traits that people often look for. On top of just like the retail market, I think even enterprises also look for stuff like this. I mean, we have to think about how Hedera's governing council, which is, sometimes people have a hard time believing this, but it actually includes giants like, for instance, LG, right? LG is very massive. We take a look at something like Mondelez. Mondelez is, very massive as well. Their brands is something like Oreo. I mean, we've all heard about that. And also like Cliff, the Cliff Bar. Even besides that, we also take a look at Google. And yeah, I'm talking about Google, that's part of the governing council of Hedera. So the way you take a look at it is that, is this a nonsense project? No, I don't think so. I think it's hypothetically very amazing. And I think like for me, when it comes to HBAR, if someone said, hey, would you rather buy this or Dogecoin? It's a no-brainer this, right? First of all, it's not some, caca thing. I'm not saying Dogecoin is caca, but I'm just saying like compared to other projects that launch out there, it doesn't seem bad. Not to mention as well, when we take a look at something like, HBAR, much lower market cap than Dogecoin. Let's face it, right? The market cap isn't like, that crazy yet, even though it's pretty big. And it's only logical, really. Choose a meme coin that has pretty much become a dinosaur with a very insanely high market cap, or choose something with a market cap that's like, not too low. It's pretty big actually, but is not a meme coin. And then also at the same time has fantastic A+ fundamentals. Isn't HBAR a no-brainer pick for me, especially as of right now? I'm not saying like, anyone has to buy it or anything like that. No one has to follow, my actions, right? But I'm just saying, when it comes to HBAR, this doesn't seem like a bad pick for me, but it's just a waiting game as of right now. I just have to stay patient. That's it. I've been accumulating HBAR for quite a while now, and I'm just waiting for the altcoin season to really kick into fifth gear. It's going to come when it's going to come, no matter what happened historically speaking, whatever, right? But again, 2025 wouldn't surprise me whatsoever, but ultimately speaking, this is just all hypothetical. The market is going to do what it's going to do, but by accumulating, holding, and just waiting, I'm preparing for a moment in which it really does wake up. And again, that's the only thing I can control, so that's what I'm going to do, and $3 wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.